I leave Monday for a backpacking trip, so I'm trying to get through as many messages as I can before I leave on angels, both fallen and unfallen. Right now we're into fallen angels, and I've been talking about Satan. On the last video, I talked about the names of Satan and how knowing the names of Satan, it can give us an indication of what he's like. And I shared a whole different list of names like Beelzebub, the devil, dragon, the prince of the power of this earth, the ruler of the cosmos, all kind of different names. And the reason I gave that is because it's important to understand what he is. The names are very descriptive of who he is and what he does. But some of the lessons we can learn from studying the names of Satan is, first and foremost, Satan can deceive anybody. I mean, just look at the scenario. Adam and Eve were in a perfect environment. They did not have a sin nature. And yet, Satan, who is also called the serpent and the great dragon, was able to tempt Eve and get her to question God's own word in a perfect environment when she did not even have a sin nature. And in turn, Satan helped Eve along into then getting Adam to follow her example. Okay, so if they were tricked in a perfect environment without a sin nature, how much more are you and I capable of being tempted? Okay? Satan, what he always tries to do is he tries to get people away from two things. He tries to get people away from God in a personal relationship with him. And then he tries to keep you away from his word, the Bible. He does not want you into the word. Okay? Now, if you trust in anything other than God and his word, he's got you. God wants us to have complete trust and confidence in him and in his word. I know oftentimes a lot of married couples that are having struggles, one or the other will go and start to listen to somebody else. That is a very dangerous thing to do, because anytime even children do that, they get to listen to somebody that tells them what they want to hear rather than what's true and what's right. Anytime you quit trusting God and his process and his model for living and families, you're in dangerous territory, okay? Now, sometimes other people give us good advice, but many times they do not. Okay, so first and foremost, it's not wrong to go for advice. You need to, but first and foremost, we need to go to God and his word. We need to understand that God created Christians to have a victorious Christian life, but it's a struggle. As I said in the last video, we got three enemies: the world, the cosmos system, the flesh, that part of us that wants to act independently of God, and then the devil, who can only be one place at a time, but he has a host of demons that are looking to infiltrate your life in a variety of ways, whether it's through television, whether it's through the cult, false religions, philosophies, bad friends. He's got a lot of ways, books, movies. He's got a lot of ways of getting his ideas into you. Okay. What I want to talk on briefly here right now is the attacks of Satan specifically against God. Then I'm going to talk about, not this video, another one, how he specifically targets Christians and how he attacks them. Okay? He opposes two things of God. He opposes the person of God, who he is, and he opposes the plan and purpose of God, what God wants to have accomplished. Okay, so one of the key passages that we have for this is found in Ezekiel. And I'll read it to you. Okay, Ezekiel chapter 28. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'll read some of it. It says, "Son of man, take up a lamentation over the king of Tyre and say to him, Thus says the Lord God. You had the seal of perfection. He's saying this of Satan, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden. That's where Adam and Eve were, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering. So you can kind of get a picture of what he looks like, okay? The ruby, the topaz, and the diamonds, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the lapis, lazuli, the turquoise, and the emerald, and the gold, the workmanship of your settings and sockets was in you. On the day that you were created, they were prepared. So he had a point in creation. God did not. Satan was a created being that God created in a beautiful setting, okay? You were the anointed cherub or the anointed angel who covers, and I placed you there. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walk in the midst of the stones of fire. Picture that. Wow. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created until unrighteousness was found in you. By the abundance of your trade, you were internally filled with violence, and you sin. Therefore, I have cast you as profane from the mountain of God, and I have destroyed you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. Listen to that, women, men who try to make your appearance your sole attraction. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom by reason of your splendor. We see that all the time with models and Hollywood stars and people, and then they get totally bewildered when they get old and they start wrinkling and, parts don't work as well anymore. So Lucifer was so impressed by his own beauty that he wanted to take the honor and glory that belonged to God. Listen, anytime we try to attract people to ourselves, we're doing the same thing Lucifer did. We're trying to take attention from people to us rather than to direct it to God. And in many ways, we cause people to stumble. I would never want to do that. I think it's wrong to create a desire in somebody for you that you cannot morally and biblically fulfill. Have I been guilty of that? Yes. Have I recognized it and taken responsibility for it? Yes. Okay, it is wrong to do that. Whatever we do in word and deed, we need to do all to the glory of God. Okay. Now, in Isaiah is another key passage. So you want to look at some key passages. Remember, Ezekiel 28, then Isaiah 14, 12 to 15. It kind of reveals the thought process that went through Lucifer. That's another name for the devil. How you have fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, O star of the morning, son of dawn. Those are other names for him. You have been cut down to earth, you who have weakened the nations. Notice who's really in control of governments. Okay, it's Satan. Okay, he's the head of the cosmos system that's operating in this world, whether it's through Democrats, Republicans, whether it's through a socialist, communist, republic, dictatorship. He's heading all that up. But you said in your heart, this is what Satan did, I will ascend to heaven. I want you to pay attention to certain words. I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God, and I will sit on the mount of the assembly in the recesses of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Notice all the I wills in there. So this rebellion that he had in his heart, this self-determination of I will, I hear people say, I will, is what caused his downfall and rebellion. He said 5 times, he said this in his heart, I will. Let me look at each one briefly and then we'll finish. I will ascend to heaven. What is he really saying there? By making this declaration, Satan was literally saying he wanted to occupy. He didn't just want to be in the presence. He wanted to occupy the abode of God. Now, there are three heavens. I don't want to get in a whole lot of that. But there's the, maybe I'll do it another time because that's a whole different thing. Okay. He also says, so first, I will ascend to heaven. Then he says, I will raise my throne above the stars of God. Okay. Satan is not saying he wants to be above an inanimate object like a star. What he's really saying is that he wants to be above all the other angels. In Job 38:7, when the morning stars, it says, when the morning stars sang together and the sons of God shouted for joy, what he was saying is that he wanted to be in control of all the other angels. He wanted to be the administrators, and he wanted to surpass the authority of God. He wanted to be in charge. He wanted to call the shots. He wanted to tell all the other angels that he was in charge and to look to him, not to God. Now, obviously, he was very successful in that because a lot of angels followed him in revolt, in rebellion against God. He says also, I will sit on the mount of assembly in the recesses of the north. In this statement, what he is saying is that he expresses a desire to control everything in the universe. In Isaiah 2:2 and in Psalm 48:2, we find that the place where Lucifer wants to rule is in the mount of assembly in the recesses of the north. It is the very place where Christ will rule as king, listen to this, in his second coming. For those of you that are interested in the tribulation in Revelation, where do you think the abomination of desolation is going to take place? The abomination of desolation is after 3.5 years in the tribulation, Satan, who has gained a lot of political and powerful position, sets himself up to desecrate the temple and to proclaim that everybody needs to worship him as God and to receive the mark of the beast, 666. So this is Satan's determination that he hasn't yet fulfilled, okay? He says he not only wants to occupy heaven and bring all the angels under his authority, he wants to occupy the very place where Jesus is going to administer his millennial rule and kingdom. So he's always trying to attack God and his purposes. He says, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. And it came about in Exodus 16:10. And it came about as Aaron spoke to the whole congregations of the sons of Israel, that they looked towards the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the clouds. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the whole tabernacle. What is he saying here? What he's saying is the cloud in both the Old Testament and the New Testament are a visible sign of God's presence. Satan wanted to even occupy that. He said, I don't want you to see God. I want you to see me. And a lot of people do that today. They don't see God in the world affairs. You know, I wrote something facetiously this morning about things that just bewilder me, and I put a whole list of things on Facebook. You know, but the thing that set me off on that was watching the news on that high school in Georgia. Well, that guy went in there and killed 4 people and wounded many others. You know, and my first thought was, parents, why do you have your kids in a public school that deny God and his presence, who won't allow his cloud to oversee the teaching education process? Why would you put your children in harm's way, not only for bullets, real bullets, from this deranged boy, but also bullets from Satan to plant seeds in their minds. And I want to show more of that as we go on. Strictly humanism, devoid of God. Why would you do that? It makes no logical sense to me, especially for Christian. I don't care. I don't want to hear any excuse. God gave you that child. You don't think he's able to provide you with the resources to put him in a private school, Christian school, or a home school? The problem is your priorities are screwed up. Your trust is screwed up. But that's my opinion. Okay? And so Satan wants to occupy all these places of authority. Okay? He also said, I will make myself like the Most High. How could the most powerful, intelligent, and beautiful angel do that? There's only one way, and that's to become a Thomas. I don't need to answer to anybody. I recently confronted somebody because they did something wrong. You know what they did? Cut me off. I did it in a way that I would want somebody to do for me. You know, if I did something knowingly wrong and then I was trying to justify it, I would want, if I had a good Christian friend, to point it out to me. Maybe I didn't see it. Maybe I didn't recognize. Maybe I didn't see that I was rationalizing. You know? But, so some of the effects of Satan's rebellion against God is that evil became a reality. In the Garden of Eden, it was just a potential. Now it's a reality. We live in an evil world run by an evil person, people. Okay? Peace was disrupted for the first time. Sin spread from Satan to the angelic realm, all the fallen angels, and into the human race. Let me ask you a couple questions. Who's sitting on the throne of your life? Who's the navigator in your life? You or God? You know, if you say you're doing and you're calling all the shots, you're acting just like Satan. Let me ask you this. You need to take authority where God never gave it to you. Listen to that, what I said again. Are you taking authority where God never gave it to you? In the school, in the government, in churches? Are authorities taken, certain spiritual authority taking authority where God never gave it to him? God never gave the authority to government to educate children. He gave that authority to parents. God never gave the government the authority to do benevolent work. He gave that to the churches. God never gave government the authority to rule over every aspect of a person's life. Okay? He gave that to his Word and the Holy Spirit. Who are you bowing down to? So Satan opposes the person of God. He wants to be God. He doesn't want to be in a co-partner with God. He wants to be God. But he also opposes the purpose of God. And to understand that, we got to go to John chapter 8, verses 44. And he says this, and Jesus is talking, he says, you are of your father, the devil, and you want to do the desires of your father. He was a murderer from the beginning. This is Jesus' description of Satan. And does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. Whenever he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own nature. For he is a liar and the father of lies. But because I speak the truth, you do not believe me. Jesus is talking to the religious leaders of his day who were trying to thwart all the good works he was doing, all the miracles, the gospel. And that's what Satan does. He sets himself up to take precedence over every aspect of your life. So you will bow down and worship him, either knowingly or unknowingly. The minute you put your kids into an organization that denies God's presence, and worse, teach philosophical and ideas that are not only erroneous but contrary to Scripture, you are doing Satan's bidding. Okay, so, it's a point you got to come in your life. Where are your priorities? Do you want to live what life you have bowing down to Satan and his ideology, which is directed against God and his purposes? Or do you want to stand against the devil and resist all his ways? When people say resist the devil and he will flee from you, it's not just talking about temptation. It's talking about philosophies, ideologies, religions, occults, movies, bad friends. It's talking about resisting this cosmos system, to not be a lover of the world, but a lover of God. Okay, that's it for today. This is not only for you, it's for me too. Man, this is good refreshers for me to remember all this and to understand and to recognize the battle we're in. It's great, and his deception, as I said in the beginning, is very insidious, very crafty, very snake-like. Don't let him get in you. God bless you. We'll do another one before I leave.